Hello, everyone. I can see a number of people who've joined us. I hope everyone is there. And could somebody indicate if I am being heard correctly? Would that be okay? Now go to the chat. Let's see. Okay. Thank you very much, guys, for letting me know that I'm not speaking to myself. And thank you so much for joining us. Kind of a weird situation for all of us, but we're going to try and make the best of it. And I thank you very much for joining me on this somewhat sunny afternoon. You have to forgive me a little bit because I've got sun coming in right here from the window near to my computer, but I suppose that's better than rain and thunderstorms. So I hope I find you all well. I know it's been a difficult time for everybody, and I hope that just spending a little time together this afternoon, if nothing else, will help you get through the day and do something a little different. Just a couple of admin points before we go any further. I do have colleagues in the room who are familiar with Zoom, and if you do have any kind of technical issue with the Zoom, maybe if you can't hear properly or you can't see me, although that may not be a bad thing, you're very welcome just to put something in the chat there and maybe they can advise you of that. If you have any questions regarding, for example, ordering, delivery, prices, or whatever else may be important to you, you're very welcome to address those to my friends and colleagues from Leirilivro, who are also very kindly attending the webinar this afternoon. And they will be able to advise you about that. Okay, and those questions, if it's easier for you, if you're more comfortable, can be addressed in Portuguese. My colleagues are there standing by if there's any interest there in anything of that nature. So I think that's basically it in terms of admin. I do have my eye on the chat. However, for purposes of speed, excuse me, throat. For purposes of chat, sorry, for keeping the thing going, I am not going to be constantly looking at the chat. I'm going to try and leave some time towards the end so that if necessary and if possible, I can answer any questions. But I will keep looking down to it. So if you see my eyes shifting off you, it's not that I'm trying to ignore you. It's simply that I'm trying to keep my eye a little bit on the chat as well. So what I would like to do today is to basically introduce you to the lower levels of on-screen. In this particular case, it'll be on-screen 3. And I'd like to do that through the medium of the interactive whiteboard software, so I can show you that at once. Now, I know that since you, ladies, gentlemen, oh, we do have some gentlemen. Since you ladies and gentlemen have been teaching from home and are getting into this whole business of distance learning, my colleagues from Portugal have informed me that there have been a number of questions regarding, for example, how to kind of connect all the parts of teaching online. And that's one of the things we'll be discussing today, as I'll try and demonstrate that. So when I'm using any particular device, app, or whatever it might happen to be, I'll try and explain as best I can what I'm doing for those of you who aren't necessarily very familiar with the way that works. You will notice today that we're using Zoom as a platform. This is one that Express Publishing uses. It's a platform. There are different types of platforms available. We using Zoom, that doesn't mean there are no alternatives. And of course, there may be different systems that you are required to use by your schools, by whoever is in charge. Usually these things are fairly consistent across the whole range. So one of the first things I would like to do, so that you're not just looking at me, is to go into the interactive whiteboard software. Now, I already have that opened on my computer, and what I'm going to do is use the share screen function here on Zoom. Now, you won't be able to see it at the moment, but basically the share screen function is a function at the bottom of the screen on Zoom. There's this little arrow that asks me if I'd like to share my screen, which of course I am very happy to do. And then it asks me which window I would like to share with you. So I am going to select in a second my on-screen interactive whiteboard software window, which, as I said, already have open. But also it's asking me if I'd like to share my computer sound. This is very important, ladies and gentlemen. If you are teaching learners at a distance and you want to use something like interactive whiteboard software, it is very important that you remember to do that you either find it here in Zoom, it automatically appears as a choice, or if you're using some other format, then you may have to go into the settings and see. So I'm going to click share my computer sound, and I am now going to select on screen 3 interactive whiteboard software, and I'm going to click on share because friends share things. Excuse me, I don't know what's going on with my throat today. Now, hopefully, you should all now be seeing the on-screen 3 interactive whiteboard software main screen. To my colleagues from Express, George or Parry, because I can't see the chat at the moment, could you please confirm that that is actually being seen for me? That would be a help. I'm going to assume it is being seen, and I'm going to just tell you a few things about the software. I know that some of you will be familiar with it. I've got a whole bunch of chat going on there. Just double check. Yep, it's all clear. Great, thanks very much, guys, for confirming that. It's a relief because I can't see what you're seeing 100%. Great stuff, guys. Thank you for letting me know that. So, what you get when we're looking at the interactive whiteboard software, just to make this very, very clear, is a fully interactive system. We do not at Express call interactive software something that merely is PDFs, something that's very static, something that, of course, students can read, but something that's very static. What we are doing with interactive whiteboard software is making sure that we provide you with a 100% interactive tool. What I'm going to try and do as I show you the structure of the material is make some suggestions as to how this can be implemented, if you like, outside the normal classroom, okay? So this is what I'm going to do now. Now you can see here, this is, as I said, the main menu. Very important to point out, and we've mentioned this at many of our seminars throughout Portugal, that there is no need really to have an interactive whiteboard. So whether you're using this software as I am now in this environment for distance learning, or whether, I'm just going to choke to death here, or whether you're using it actually in a formal classroom, you do not need a special interactive whiteboard. It'll run anywhere that you have a computer, Windows, Mac, doesn't really matter. A very quick point, because this has come up, and forgive me, I'm trying to cover a number of bases here and to provide information based on things that we've been asked over the past few weeks. Some of you, you will know that you get some of the software we provide on flash drives. I know that's for the state schools. Some of the software comes on disks. I'm talking about the whole Express range right now. If you buy material that comes on a disk and your computer doesn't have a disk drive, then it's very simple. All you need to do is borrow someone else's computer and copy all the files from the interactive whiteboard software onto a pen drive, and then use that pen drive on your computer. So it's a little one extra step, I know, and this is something we're looking at and thinking about. But please, that shouldn't be a problem to you. The files can be copied and then run from a flash drive. In fact, I'm running them from a portable hard drive right now. I don't have a computer disk here. Okay, so that's, I hope, that issue forestalled. What we're going to be looking at today, this is the demo version of On Screen 3. And as I said, I'd like to talk about technicalities and at the same time show you the structure of the material and how it helps in language teaching and give you some tips and suggestions as I go through. Okay, I do have some notes written down. So again, if you see my eyes flicking away from you, it's merely to make sure that I've gone through with you everything I wanted to talk about. Let's have a quick look here then at the main display. You should be able to see my mouse as well, I hope. What you have here is a layout of the whole unit. So that's very important to notice. We have a layout of the whole unit here. There are activities that are interactive for the whole book. You will see attached to some of the pages that you have some little icons. These icons indicate that in the associated unit, there are either videos or games that can be used during a lesson, and which I will, sorry, I'm just reading something in the chat there. These things I will show you as we go through. Someone's having a problem with sound, but not everybody. Again, I can see my colleagues are dealing with that, so that's absolutely wonderful. Thanks, guys. So, explaining just a little bit about the general layout, and now I am going into the first unit. Very important thing to note, you will see that many exercises have an orange circle around them. Those are the interactive exercises. This is true for each of the lessons for all of our interactive whiteboard software. Now, in some lessons, you will see that there is not a circle around some of the activities. This is because not every activity is designed to be done via the interactive whiteboard. So, for example, if you have a speaking activity, so let's say for argument's sake, actually I don't have one really, exercise, let's take for argument, any argument, exercise 7, for example. It's not 100% true here, but never mind. If exercise 7 didn't have a circle around it and it says this is a speaking activity, what that means is that that is an activity designed to be done between students. It's nothing that requires an interactive whiteboard. Our plan, ladies and gentlemen, is not that the interactive whiteboard software dominates the lesson. The idea is that it is a useful tool to you when teaching the lesson. So at that point, there may be activities that don't have. Just look at them carefully if you see them, and it usually will be very clear why they are not required to be interactive, okay? This particular module is the one from the demo, Module 2A, Nature's Fury, and this is about, of course, things like natural disasters, etc. So what I want to do is I'm going to take you through this first page. As I go through the structure, I'm also going to show you many of the choices and tools you have available to you. In the other pages, once I've shown you those tools, I won't need to dwell on it in quite so much detail. Okay, so I'm just going to, you can see this is all very simple. It's very just select, click, etc. I've now just clicked on that first activity. Now, before we do reading comprehension, and please notice that Module 2A is about reading comprehension. Remember, this is level 3. So our learners are still working very hard on building up their vocabulary. And because there is very specific vocabulary associated with a subject like natural disasters, obviously we're going to pre-teach. As the series goes on, and if any of you are familiar, for example, with the higher levels of on-screen, you will notice that as we get higher up, we pre-teach less so that learners can guess from context, they can start drawing their own conclusions. At these levels, that isn't going to be possible, especially for very specific vocabulary. In many ways, what you have in front of you right now on the screen is actually, it's a form of CLIL, because we're looking at very, very specific vocabulary. So let's have a look at how we might want to handle this in the classroom. One of the ways, first way that I would normally handle this is a quick kind of whiz around the classroom and simply ask, okay guys, have a look at these words. Now remember, if you're using this system from home, your learners will be seeing exactly what you're seeing now, okay? They can also have their books in front of them. Or in fact, you will find this in the interactive, in the DigiBook, which I'll be talking about a little later on to show you how to connect all of these. So we have some very specific words: lava, slope, crater, magma, smoke and ash. Okay, that's very easy. Rim, lava stream. Now, obviously, the first thing to do here would be to ask my learners to think and say what they know already. In the book, they're asked to kind of associate the word and label the diagram. Here, what I can do is I can have a choice. I can either kind of do it live with my learners. In other words, I can very simply say to everyone, okay, what do you think number one is? And my learners can just indicate or shout out, and we can do it together. And I can very quickly drag and drop the word there. Or I can give them just a few minutes to think the activity through, and I mean like a couple of minutes to think it through, and then ask them what they have found. Now, if I want to do it just that little bit faster, of course, I can simply click on each choice. I don't have to drag and drop it. And if I'm in a really big hurry, I can click just up here where the little 3 dots are, and it will give me all the answers for my students to look at, okay? Now, if you have learners, for example, here, who've never heard of some of these words, and let's be honest, that's possible, especially with such specific vocabulary, then you can go to the help icon down at the bottom of the page, and there you have the definitions of the words as used in the text, okay? So with the click of a button, you now have dictionary definitions there that your learners can look at. You can talk through with them. You can explain with them, to them. But of course, this is now associated with the image that you have in your book as well. So you have written explanations and you have the image on the screen to demonstrate it as well. And if you really wanted to get kind of have fun with it, you also have a pen icon, and you can circle things and put arrows to things depending on how good you are at handling your mouse. To be honest with you, let me get rid of my wonderful drawing there. At any point as well, you also have access here to the general word list from the unit. These are all the kind of the new vocabulary that comes from the unit, including things like pronunciation.
Erupt, erupt, fountain of lava.
Where's my favorite word? I'm going to find my favorite word down here. There it is.
Magma.
Okay.
Magma.
Powerful word. I like it. And you've got definitions there, should you wish them, so on and so forth. You can even get rid of those and just have the definition and ask the learners then to say which word is being described. So you can kind of do a reverse thing with the definitions. Okay, now those words are available throughout the course. I'm navigating now with my buttons down at the bottom. Remember, we're still in reading comprehension. One of the things we do on screen, if you have a look up here at number 1, it says listen and check, listen and repeat. So we've got pronunciation practice, very important, especially when we're meeting new vocabulary. Notice the second part of that question. What are these words in your language? Notice, please, that we are not fighting shy of using the learner's native language if they are stuck, and definitely for you as teachers to check. Okay, we're not going to translate the text. We're not going to get into massive hours of translation, but in the specific case, we are going to check that learners do understand, especially, as I said, that this is very specific vocabulary. If you want to make it a spelling check, you can get rid of the word. You press on the sound.
Crater.
Okay, and then you get them to listen and repeat.
Crater.
So on and so forth, okay? You can say, which is this one, which is this one, which is this one. They tell you, and then you double check. Okay, we're going to move through because we need to keep going. Moving now, we've done our kind of preparatory work here. We've gone through some of the basic vocabulary that might cause problems. Now what are we doing? Before we start the full reading comprehension, we're doing something very important. We are asking our learners to focus on the information structure in this particular text. Now, focusing on the information structure, making guesses before you go into the text is important in terms of comprehension. It aids with prediction. If our learners are encouraged to kind of predict what's likely to come up, vocabulary items are coming to mind, previous knowledge is coming to mind, and if you like, at the other end of the stick, you have issues with learners being able to use that information to, I've got learners, people raising hands here. you're going to use that information to help with writing. I'm afraid, guys, I can't open the microphones. So if you have any questions, I'm going into the chat now. So if you have any questions, please feel free to type them. I'm afraid I can't open microphones because if we do that for everybody, I'm afraid that's going to get a little bit of a mess, okay? So please feel free to type a question into the box. There is a special question box as well, but please forgive me, I can't open the microphones for you, okay? And I'll try and get to those questions when I can. Alrighty. So, great thing about the interactive whiteboard software is that now they can't cheat. They can't look at the answers in their book. They can't read through the paragraph. What they can do now is have to guess, okay? Doesn't matter if they're right or wrong. What matters is that they guess. And we can elicit what kind of things might be said, what things are going to come up, what might we want to talk about here. And again, so we're generating vocabulary, related concepts to the language, okay? And then what you're going to get.
The text is a blog about Nia's trip to see a volcano erupting.
Okay, is a very simple sample answer. Wherever you see this little question mark, that is a sample answer, the kind of thing that we're looking for. So notice it's not something terribly complicated. It's not something very long-winded, okay? Talking of long-winded, I shall move forward. Okay, now, the next stage is for the learners to do in their books, okay? Because they're going to have a look at the text and they're going to match headings to paragraphs. And this is one of those moments where they go off the screen and they either go into their physical book or they could use their DigiBook to answer the questions. Very simple thing, looking at general understanding here. We're not working on anything particularly difficult. And again, as I showed you before, what you can do is just give them a couple of minutes to do their activity, and then you can get the answer up. Another very useful thing, especially when we're doing distance learning, is that when we have answered the questions, when I've elicited and we found the right answer, it's very easy to demonstrate to our learners where the answer came from. So you can see it here. Yeah, it's underlined in yellow. The words or phrases that learners will use to come to that answer. This is a great thing for distance learning because it's in front of them. It's very hard over a webcam, for example, to pick up your book and show them where you mean. Now it's here, it's clear, and if necessary, you can explain what those answers are for them, okay? So this is a great tool for marking, it's a great tool for checking, but I want to make sure we understand the process of reading comprehension. So they've gone through basic structure, they've gone through basic understanding of the text, the gist, if you like, of the text. Now we start getting into specifics of the text. Please remember, at any time during reading comprehension, I can show the text on the screen, I can hide the text, learners can be looking at the text on their own, and now we're asking them for just a little bit more specific information, and also giving opinion, okay? Because we're getting into, this is level 3, we need learners to start thinking just that little bit more about subtext and about engaging with the text in a more personal way. It's about what their opinion is. We ask them questions like, do you think it was a good idea? Was it right or wrong? How do you interpret Nia's general feeling about the whole experience, etc. Okay, and again, you'll find things like suggested answers, etc. going on there. You don't have to be 100% strict about the wording there, by the way. So we're still in reading comprehension, and now we're moving into the vocabulary that comes from the text. So if you can see, we're narrowing down. We've gone from a general understanding of the concept to a general gist of the text. We've gone to slightly more specifics of the text, and now we're moving into the vocabulary related with the text. Some of you have noticed that someone mentions it's similar to the I5. Obviously, there are going to be similarities across our range of material because there is a method that we think is going to be helpful, and demonstrably so. What is the button around the I4 that looks like turn around? This particular button at the bottom here. Okay, so let me demonstrate that for you Okay, so if, for example, I'm going to put all the answers up. If I want to reset it, the spinning button simply just resets the activity, and we can go through it again. It's just all about clearing off any answers that you may have put there. Thank you very much for your questions. So now, as you can see, we're getting into more detail about the words, but these are words from the text. Okay, this is not general vocabulary. These are words related from the text. And we're exploring these particular words with synonyms. Now, sometimes it may be antonyms, sometimes it may be different derivations. It'll change from exercise to exercise, okay? So going through, here is an activity, a gap-filling exercise. What I wanted to show you here is that if you're using this in an environment where it's possible, although I admit this is more likely in the classroom than by distance learning, learners can fill in the correct word here. We watched as the smoke and ash rose, I think it is. Let's have a look. As when you've completed it, and I'm just going to type gibberish. Wouldn't be so much fun if English was this easy. Okay, the check light goes on. Obviously, I've got pretty much everything wrong because I typed in gibberish and very full of vowels. And this is where, for example, the lady's question about this, I can reset the activity and we can try again. If, of course, you're working in a distance environment, then you can very simply just click on the answers and the students can have done this at home, okay? I'm moving through because I want to make sure I have time to show you the DigiBooks as well. Please note, all listenings are included.
I am fascinated by volcanoes. So, when I heard the news that Mount Nyamuragira was erupting, I had to see it.
Okay, so you've got listening. All the listenings are there on the software. Again, this is a great help when you're doing distance learning. You don't have to switch around between devices or try and get your audio plugged in somehow. Everything is there for you. Working again with the structure of the text there. So I'm going to zoom through some of these because I want to make sure I give you an overview of the whole of the book, of the unit. Not the whole book, we'd be here for a very long time and I wouldn't have enough coffee left. We're also looking at, having gone through, analyzing, putting it to pieces. Now we put it back together again. It's very important to check for comprehension that learners do things like give summaries at the end. Whenever you find reading comprehension, at the end of that reading comprehension, after we've done the analysis and gone into a little more detail, you're always going to find that there is some activity to kind of summarize. Now, sometimes it may be spoken, sometimes it may be written, sometimes a combination of both, but there will always be a summary activity there. What we're looking at here is to get learners to kind of take the words from the page and get them into their heads. Because if they don't get them into their heads, then I'm afraid there's very little happening there. And as you can see here, we have a continuation activity in terms of writing. And what we're doing here is taking the information, we're transferring that language from the text into a very short, usually about 50 words or something, into a very short activity where learners are taking what we've picked up in the lesson and using it in a legitimate way so that you can see how well they've done. And as always, you will find, sorry guys, I don't know what's wrong with my throat today. It's been a while since I've done a seminar. Okay, you have a suggested answer, well, that's better, a suggested answer there. If you wish to discuss things like structure or extra vocabulary, linkers, for example, or stuff, you have a sample email that you can work through with your learners. That is optional. You don't have to do that if you think they're okay with it, but that's there as well. What we've tried to do is provide you with absolutely everything. There is also connected video. I'm going to show you very little of this, guys, because we need to keep moving, but just so you can see it's there.
My volcano adventure.
So again, it's basically the same idea, but this time we're recording on video.
I am really fascinated by volcanoes. So, when I heard the news that Mount Nyamuragira was erupting, I had to see it. Located in Virunga National Park in the Democratic Republic of Congo, it wasn't easy to get there.
Not going to show the whole of that thing, guys, because we'll be here forever. But just so you know, that these are scripted by us so that the language is controlled. It's of the correct level. The images we buy the rights for, etc. But we are very careful about the level of the video, the pace of the video, that it is suitable for that particular level. And if you wish, you can ask some questions on the video. Those are there for you as well. And then some kind of discussion based on the video, should you wish to do that, that is also there. Those are kind of optional for you. They're not 100% necessary, but it's a great way of getting learners into the series. Now, for the next kind of modules, I'm not going to go into quite so much detail because most of the controls, etc. are there. But I do want to talk to you a bit about the structure of the material as well from an educational point of view. So I'm going to kind of put my comments more on that side. We were just here, okay, in Unit 2.2a, which is reading comprehension and connected vocabulary. That's the layout. It's a double-page spread. Sometimes on the interactive whiteboard, one loses sight of that. Lesson B is more generalized vocabulary, okay? So what you've got going on here is vocabulary that's related to natural disasters, although they are quite often national, and kind of expanding and broadening that vocabulary. It's going to get into things. I'm not going to go into this page in detail, guys, because you know what vocabulary is about, and I hope you can see it. But it doesn't just stop at learn the words. So, for example, you've got collocational ideas, word formation ideas, phrasal verbs going on there. Okay, but different types of activity. Of course, you will see a connection increasingly as the series goes on between these kinds of activities and activities that are likely to come up in examinations. So you've got maybe have transformational exercises going on, some derivative exercises here. You've got, I can see here, forming abstract nouns, for example. And so we're starting to think about words in different forms and the function they play in the sentence and how that will change their writing, suffixes, affixes, prefixes, sorry, whatever it may happen to be. Those are all there as well. So we're looking at vocabulary, but not just purely in the meaning of the word, but in the function of the word as well within the particular sentence. Okay, but I'm going to be honest with you, I don't want to stop here. The functions are pretty much the same. You can see the video icon there. You know what vocabulary activities are like, but it is important to show you just the overview there, what a wealth of vocabulary there is. Then the next section is grammar in use. Again, you can see the icons we've already mentioned going on there. So I just wanted to just check back something. I did want to show you, that's what I wanted to show you. I'm sorry, I almost missed out on that. Let me go there. Where's my game gone? I wanted to show you a very quick game. There it is. Okay, just to show you what some of the games are like. This is a word search based on the vocabulary. My apologies for going back, but I'm very hard to check my notes while I'm looking at you guys. And you will see it's a simple word search. The words are there. And again, you can have this on the screen. Learners can shout out where they've seen words, or you can give them a few minutes to work it on their own. I think this is more fun, to be honest, if people just kind of shout out and you know, they see what they get. It's a little bit of fun, but not compulsory. Games are optional. They're not required 100% by the series. Sorry for that quick flashback there. The grammar, very important to note as a general principle. Express Publishing believes very much in grammar from its communicative aspect. Okay, Barry, you got that one. Okay, so that is equally true in on-screen. Obviously, there are times we're going to be focusing very much on detail, but we try very hard in the grammar as well to look at things. For example, you can see up here, grammar in use. You can see that's text-based. Certainly, at the end of every module, there's every unit, sorry, there's a small writing activity which exercises the grammar. Now, I do have to show you here two more functions that I haven't shown you yet. Everything else I've shown you so far is also there. If you are explaining grammar, whenever we have a grammar issue, we have this little thing here, which takes us to the grammar reference section. Again, this is very useful when you're learning distance, okay? And also we have grammar flashcards as well. They're incorporated there so that you can demonstrate and elicit from your students grammar, etc. And there's more than one. We're looking in this particular unit at past simple versus past continuous. So you have usage, you have examples, you have recording for where stress and intonation might play a role, or simple pronunciation activity. You can get rid of the text should you wish. Okay, so those are two functions I haven't shown you yet, which is why I wanted to show them to you. There are also grammar games. Grammar games are kind of retro games. This one's a game of snooker. This morning, the heavy snowfall formed an avalanche in the mountains. I'm going to get it right for once in my life. Yeah, okay, so even if you're doing this virtually, you can divide a class into two, and they can indicate their answers, shouting out, whatever. It keeps score for you. Okay, so that's the grammar section. The next section, we've got it across cultures. It's cultural information, but very importantly, it's also skills work. We look at reading, writing, listening, and speaking here. Very importantly, guys, it's designed also to get learners thinking about different cultures, discussing their own culture. You can see again from the layout that you have the same basic functions in the interactive whiteboard software. You have some reading comprehension in this particular case, associated with some listening, vocabulary work, a little bit of collocation work, etc. Also here, it's a little bit of a break from the grammar. It's a little bit of break from the vocabulary. So we're kind of doing something that's possibly a little more interesting in a broader sense here. I'm going to zoom through because I need about 15 minutes at the end just to talk to you about the DigiBooks. Here, this is the listening. Listening is one page, speaking is one page. Very important. The listening and speaking activities are all based on, or all go to the activities themselves. Some of the work around the listening activity, preparatory work, not so much, but the listening activities themselves are all based on exam-style tasks. So we're starting down here at preparing learners for examinations, various, we kind of internationally, there are various types that come up all the time. So we're looking at different types of exams. Obviously, the Cambridge exams are in there. And there'll be some other ones as well. But what we're doing is not just listening, we're building up vocabulary. Let me just show you some of these in a little more detail. Okay, so we're getting learners to focus on the structure of dialogue, to understand phrases and context, what they may be referring to make assumptions, okay? How to handle questions, how to underline the keywords, what am I listening for? Okay, getting learners to understand that they don't have to understand everything, but the keywords are important for them to focus on. Taking that listening, putting into a little bit of speaking, so they're recycling the vocabulary and the structures. Okay. Guessing, so if you hear something like this, what might the question be? So kind of reverse engineering as well. Constantly getting learners to think about context. What's likely to be said? What is the meaning likely to be? What's the response likely to be? So this is not just listen, listen, listen. This is getting learners to really focus on listening skills. Being a good listener, making assumptions and thinking, as well as getting learners to practice exam-style tasks. The same is true of the speaking page. We look at things like everyday English, as you can see on the screen there. And again, it's the same approach as listening. We have preparatory exercises. We work on structures. We work on phrases. We work on things like social linguistics and things like this. So it's, sorry, something in my eye. It's a rounded approach. It's not just, again, sit down and speak. So you're going to get sample language. How do we do these things? How do we express them in English? They know how to do it in Portuguese. How do we do it in English? What would be appropriate for the level, for the relationship? What would be appropriate for the situation in which I find myself? Okay, so it's a very rounded approach to speaking. It's still targeted on the theme of the unit, so we can recycle all the vocabulary, we can recycle the structures that we've used. Conceptually, we're still in the same area, we're not jumping around, okay? Final one here We have writing, everybody's favorite. You'll see writing is a double spread because we know it's a very, very, very difficult skill. I'm just going to flick through some of the activities to show you what's going on here. Very importantly, as an exam approach, we need to get learners to think about the question first and foremost, answer the question that are actually being asked. So we get them to look at questions. What are the most important words in the question? What do I need to put in my composition? We always have model compositions, which learners explore. So look at the picture, read the paragraph, answer the question. You've got reading comprehension going on here, which is going to lead into them thinking about how they structure their own writing, okay? And we use these examples a lot. Let me just zoom back there. You can see there's a model composition right there. We use that model composition to think about all the things we need to write. We take it to pieces: connectors, language, tenses used, what kind of vocabulary are we going to need, what kind of grammar or language, at least, kind of functional area of language you're looking at. So here we go, adverbs are going to be necessary because we're going to do things. So we have, how do we form adverbs, because that's appropriate here. And you'll notice again, you have your little flashcards I mentioned earlier on. They're there as well, okay? Forming adjectives, it's a story. We're going to need those as well. Adverbs and adjectives, very important in stories. So we got those going on too. All right, so there's lots of focus on the nuts and bolts, and then they get into actually writing their own story. And here, because it's a lower level, this is on screen 3, we help them thinking about the narrative structure here by putting events in a certain order, thinking about how that order can be linked together. One of the things I love about on screen, you can see it down here, is this checklist at the end. The checklist is there before learners, when learners are thinking about writing the composition and before they hand it back to you, that they go through to make sure they've done everything. There's also useful language there, phrases, etc., which they can use, they don't have to, and a plan, okay? The last page there, I'm not going to dwell on. This is, again, it's a kind of using English to learn stuff. So here we have CLIL, in this particular case, history, again, about a massive disaster, the fire of London, if I remember correctly. I haven't got my glasses on. Or maybe, no, it's not. It's later than that. It's Chicago. I should wear my glasses more often. Yeah, the Chicago fire. My apologies. I saw flames. I thought the fire of London, but I didn't know it was the fire in Chicago, the great one there as well. And again, that can lead on to things like research, project work, presentation work, okay? So maybe, sad to say, but a few years ago you had massive fires in Portugal, for example, or some other kind of disaster that learners can think about and discuss in the classroom or present in the classroom in English, do some research and come back. Okay, now, there are some other things there which I'm not going to show you right now, guys. There are the videos I mentioned. There are extra video documentaries, but we really need to talk a little bit. The games and quizzes I've pretty much shown you. The other thing to note is that things like the answers to the workbook and grammar, if you're marking it in the class, you have all the answers there, and it can speed up your marking very, very quickly. If you've given stuff from the workbook and grammar book for homework, it's all there. Now, let me not entertain you. Let me take you. I'm now going to share screen again. I'm going to move my screen. I'm going to use Alt and Tab to navigate between pages that I opened earlier on. Now, hopefully, you should be seeing the DigiBooks version of on screen 3. This is my student account. This is there for, you can't see it? Oh no, this lady's talking to my colleague. Okay, okay. This is the DigiBooks. Remember, our material comes with DigiBooks. No extra charge, it's available. The platform is free of charge. I can't go into massive detail about the platform right now, but what I did want to show you is how you can connect this in your virtual classroom, okay? You're seeing the DigiBooks. Thanks very much for confirming that, guys. This is so like me just talking to a wall here. And those of you who know me, you know how much I enjoy meeting you all and us all having fun together. This is a very strange environment for me. And I know you guys in your teaching will feel the same. So let us take, for example, okay, let's pretend we're in class right now. You can do this even in class. And I want my students to do a particular, oh, that's good. Isn't it wonderful? There we go. When you have little technical glitches. The problem is I've had this open for a long time. Okay, let me go to the contents page. There we go. And sometimes when you have it for a long time, let me go to, I don't know, 2D, whatever. There we go. Okay. So you can, this isn't ideal, but it's a good point to note. Please notice that the DigiBooks also include audio. So if they're doing, you can do listening for homework, or if you can't share your audio over your platform, that will be there as well. So I'm just going to zoom through here until I can find, okay, a nice little activity here, go through. So that when you're in the class, for example, your learners can be, I don't want to go there. I want to go back here. I want to go to 2A. See how I'm navigating while I'm on here? It's a good opportunity to show you how we navigate through the various activities. So, for example, here, we showed you this before, okay? I showed you here. Now, if I want, I can have my learners do this activity. You can see it's very simple, drag and drop. So instead of doing it in their books, they could do it on their DigiBooks. Please don't judge me. I am very much guessing right now. And all they do is they go down here. They that was horrible. And what the system will then allow them to do is to try again. I just clicked on try again. I'm going to try a little bit harder this time, but again, time runs apace. So that would be, that's not that, that's a lava stream, isn't it? Normally, I would get people to shout this stuff out for me. Actually, no, that's not that one. Go away. Okay, I'm just going to keep guessing. I'm just going to do this one more time. It's still not right, but never mind. And I'll check. Now, so you can see I took 2 attempts at that particular activity. My word, the questions are all buzzing away here. My word.
Steve, I'm sorry. Can you stop share screening and reshare?
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, some people said they could see it, so thank you for letting me know that. Okay, I'm going to share that screen. I should have been able to jump between. Is that better? George, is that better?
I can see DigiBooks, yeah.
Great. Okay. Sorry, guys. Some people said they could see it, some people could. Okay. Everyone should now be seeing this. Either way, you heard me describe what I was doing. I'll just do it one more time. I navigated through the DigiBooks. All right. Okay, thanks, guys. You're looking at the volcano. We're so excited about an erupting volcano. I'm not sure that's the appropriate response, but anyway, my apologies. I'll make sure if I'm swapping between things, I stop and reshare it because that seems to work better. Just to demonstrate again what I was mentioning, your students can in the class do the activity. So these are the check and try again buttons I was talking about. So there we go. And they really just need to do that. Magma there. I'm going to go with that as the rim and that as lava. Who knows? And then again, I can check. Well, yeah, finally I got it right. Now, the great thing for you, I'm going to jump out of this screen and share the teacher's version just for you to see that, okay? Because it seems to be the best way of doing it. So I'm going to, it should have worked the other way as well, but never mind. And I am now going to go to the teacher's version. That's not it. And that's not it. And that's interesting because it's not that. Anyway, just give me 1 second, guys, because I have to make a slight, there it is. I have found it, bear with me, because we had a small problem with Zoom earlier on, and that kind of knocked me out. So now I am going to go back to sharing my screen with you. Share, and I'm going to be sharing this one, I think. There it is. Okay. I'm going to get rid of that. Go away. There we go. So now, I'm logged on as teacher, and hopefully you can all see that. No, I'm not. It's gone on the student again. Never mind. Best laid plans of mice and men of Ganara. Okay, let me just log in as teacher. I did do this beforehand. I'm not quite sure what happened. Doesn't matter. Just to show you, anyway, you can see how I'm logging in. I'm going to all my ebooks and everything for my teaching are all here. I'm not going to do that now. There we go. So all your books would be there. I have many because I have to show many of them. But what I wanted to show you now is progress. If I click on that, you can now see that we are, I'm going to go to package on screen 3 students book. And what I can do now is I can select, okay, and these here are the activities that we've just been doing. This should be the one I just did, yeah. So here you can see that I completed it finally 100%, but this is real-time information. So you can give your students a minute, couple of minutes, whatever it is, to work from their DigiBooks. Then you can go to your progress section as teacher, and you can now see, I mean, there's one student here because there's only one of me, but if you had your other students, you can see that they've all done it. You can see how much they've managed to do. Did they get 100%? Did they get 50, 60%? If there are students you're concerned about, you can click and you can see how many times it actually took them to do it. Now, that would be for in the class. So you can actually use that while everyone is logged on independently. If you wished, of course, to set an activity for homework, go to, I have purchased. Sorry, I did have this set up, but gremlins get everywhere. Come on. And I seem to be having a slight lag because you always do when people are watching. Okay. If I want to set homework, I just go to my book. I would go to contents page here because we're on screen 3 and I want unit 2, Nature's Fury. So maybe I want to set some things from the workbook for homework. And if I want to give them that one, basically all I have to do is, at the moment the book is, okay, I don't think it's assigned to that particular class. There it is, yeah, okay. And I give them a deadline date. I don't know, let's let them have a weekend, give them till Tuesday. And I want it done, if my lesson's at 3, I want it done by 1 o'clock, so I have time to check. And when I click on assign, that then goes to the student. The student, when they log on, I'm not going to jump between screens now, guys. We don't have a huge amount of time left. When they go on, the students go to their own assignments section, and what they will see there is a list like this. It's exactly the kind of same list with a link directly to their homework, and they do the homework in the same way as the other activity I just demonstrated to you, and with that, then you get the scores back. Now, final thing I wanted to mention on this, because some people have asked about it, this system also comes with gamification. Gamification is an option. I'm going to go back to my student account. Gamification is an option. It's not compulsory. And I just want to go to this one, and I'm going to share that again. Okay, this is a student account. Now, when you have gamification activated, if you can see in the corner of my screen, I have a little bar here with a little avatar. I've got my face on the screen as well, never mind. With a little avatar. And basically what gamification is, it's a way of encouraging students to do activities, to do group activities. So when it's activated, for every activity your students do correctly, they gain what are called LX. LX, essentially it's a point system. LX is an electronic currency that we use online. And they can use those LX to buy themselves things for their avatar. There's a little shop. There's my avatar. There's my badges. There we go. Okay. Sorry, it's a very big lag right now. Okay. So it is going there, forgive me. It's possibly because I'm streaming to so many people, there's a bit of a lag. Okay, and then they can use their LX should they wish. I have 974. It's not going to get me very much. But they can use those LX to unlock different avatar outfits, etc. Also, if they do group activities, which we call missions, if they're divided into teams, they win points for their teams, which get them extra LX, which raise them in categories. I, at the moment, if I remember correctly, I am bronze. You get raised up through certain categories. You go to silver, gold, etc. I'm not going to dwell on that because not everybody wanted to know about it, but we did have a question about what gamification was. It is merely a way of kind of giving an incentive to do activities, to do some group activities, all centered around learning English, to win points, to win some prizes, maybe to make your team the best this year. And that's what that really is about. If you are interested in gamification any further, you can get in touch with us at some other point, and maybe we could discuss it further at some other point in the future. Now, I do have, right, I got a couple minutes left. I got some questions in the question and answer. How do students access the DigiBook? Very simply, there's a code comes with all our books. They need to go to Express Publishing digibooks.co.uk. That website is on the code. They need to open an account, very simple member account, and then they can access their book. If the school wishes to use the platform, there is a procedure to that, and then the school itself could add the students to the platform. If you want to talk about setting up the platform, we have some videos available on YouTube. If you go to, if I log out here, I hope you can still see my screen. If you log out and you go down to the bottom of the screen, you will see there's a place that says support. There are manuals there for how to set up a school. I know my Portuguese colleagues have information in Portuguese as well. And they can send you that information as to how to set up the school. But a very simple answer to the question, all students get a code with the book. When they have that code, all they need to do once they've set up their account is they very simply go in, and again, this is laggy, they go to my ebooks, they should play music while you have to wait when computers are laggy, like they do in lifts and things. And then they press this little green cross, and what will happen here is a window will open, and they put their code in there, unlock the book, and they have access to the book. Now, that can be done with or without being on a school platform. The platform allows you to do the marking and the checking that I just showed you now, okay? That's the benefit of that. Alrighty, you know, my code is back. If you are a teacher, and you are part of a school that is using, for example, on screen 3. So you're on the platform as a teacher, and there are students you are teaching who are using on screen. Your codes should be redeemable using the same code, okay? If that's a problem, if you are a school and my colleagues at Leirilivro are familiar with you, etc., then you can get in touch with them and we'll see what we can do. The technical answer is, if you're in a school, if the book is registered as being used in your school system, you are a teacher who uses it, teaching students who use the book, your original code should help you renew. That's the simple answer. If there are problems, get in touch with our friends at Leirilivro. They'll contact us and we'll look at that. Okay, that's the quickest answer I can give you now. Okay, I have 2 questions there. I can't see anything exciting happening in the chat. I hope some of you are still out there spending time with us. If there are any questions that have come up, because we have to finish, if there are any questions that come up as a result of today's chat, you can get in touch with the guys at Leirilivro. You can drop a line to us at Express Publishing. I'd prefer you talk to the guys at Leirilivro first, simply because they have people on hand in the regions who can come and chat with you much more easily, sadly, than we can, much as we would love to be able to come and chat with you personally. It's very, very frustrating not being able to travel around. So if any questions have come up, please do get in touch. Any questions that didn't come up today but come up generally, please get in touch. But most importantly, as I sign off, guys, stay very safe, stay very well, and I'm so much looking forward to being able to chat with you and answer your questions online. So you stay very safe and very well until I get the chance to come and see you again. And I shall, at this point, thank you for your attendance, and I shall wish you a very, very, very good evening. Bye-bye from me for now. Bye-bye.